He said I was obedient. The kind who'd never walk away. So at his birthday he clung to his first love while his friends laughed behind my back. I didn't fight. I just vanished so quietly he didn't realize I was gone, until it was far too late. Jake Morgan's birthday party was supposed to be small. Just friends, a few drinks, a casual night out. At least that's what he told me. So I wasn't expecting the rented rooftop, the gold balloons that spelled out J+L, or the professional photographer snapping pictures like it was a red carpet event. J+L. Taken. Lauren. I arrived holding the custom cake I'd picked up for him, because he forgot, and walked right into the middle of what looked like a soft launch for an engagement. I didn't see Jake first. I saw her. Lauren Walsh. The one who left for London years ago. The one who once dumped him like it meant nothing. The one his mother still referred to as the only girl who ever matched him. She stood there in a white silk dress, smiling with perfect lips, holding his arm like she never gave it up in the first place. Jake was with his drink, next to her, and then I heard it. Wait, she's still around, one of his friends whispered too loudly. I thought that whole dare thing was over ages ago. Right? Wasn't it like a joke at that college mixer? Pick the quietest girl in the room and date her for a month? Laughter. It dragged on longer than I thought it would. Poor thing really committed to the role. My fingers dug into the cake box. I wanted to whip that box straight into their faces. To break the brittle plastic over their smug heads and scream. Say that to my face. Say it again. One of you had the guts to call me a placeholder? Say it to me and not behind your drink while hiding behind Jake's name. But I didn't. I smiled. Thin. Quiet. The kind of smile that hides 1,000 unsaid things. Because I wanted to know what more shitty things were about to spill. Jake didn't flinch. He didn't defend me. He never did. Tyler, his best friend, leaned on the table and smirked. Ben, you really never thought about giving her a real title? Jake exhaled a slow stream of smoke. It was just for fun. Who the hell would take it seriously? Guess she did. Another snicker. If she thought she could marry into the Morgans, that's on her. My chest clenched. My arms shook. I thought I'd dropped the cake. Instead, I placed it carefully on the dessert table, like my dignity hadn't just been sliced up like the strawberries on top. Jake finally looked at me. Not with love. Not even with embarrassment. Just with mild annoyance, like I was interrupting something more important. Lauren giggled beside him and linked her fingers through his. Jake glanced down at her hand and said almost absently, Emma's not gonna cause a scene. She's obedient like that. Obedient. Like a dog. I felt heat rise to my face. Not from shame, no. From rage so cold it burned. If I opened my mouth now, I'd say every unspoken truth like bullets. Like how he still cried when drunk, calling Lauren's name. Like how I had paid his medical bills when he passed out on the bathroom floor. Like how I cleaned up after every mess he made personally and professionally. But I didn't. Because they didn't deserve my voice, not tonight. They deserved my silence. Because silence has weight. Mine was about to become unbearable. I left before the cake was cut. I walked straight to the break room, handed my apron to Carla and said, take my shift. She looked concerned. You okay? No, I said. But I will be. Then I walked to the manager's office. I'm done, I said. I'm quitting. He didn't ask why. Just nodded. You'll get your final paycheck by Friday. As I stepped out into the night, the cold slapped me awake. And for the first time in 8 years, I didn't look over my shoulder waiting for Jake to chase after me. Because I already knew. He wouldn't. He never had. Later that night, I sat on the floor of my apartment, knees pulled to my chest, and then I finally cried, not because I still wanted him, but because I wasted so long convincing myself he might one day want me back. Then I opened my notebook and did the math. I'd finally saved up enough to pay back the $30,000 I owed Jake, the loan he gave me when my dad was sick. No more debts. No more pretending I didn't notice the way his eyes always drifted when Lauren's name came up in conversation. I was free. But saying it didn't make it feel true. Later that night, I stood by the window watching the snow fall and remembered the beginning. We were sophomores. I wore thick glasses and baggy jeans and sat in a corner during a fraternity mixer, praying no one noticed me. Then Jake walked across the room with a giant bouquet of roses, looked me dead in the eye and said, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? I had no idea what to say. My mouth went dry. My face burned. So he shoved the bouquet into my arms and sat beside me like it was already decided. He called me baby, like it was a running joke. I was too stunned to process it. By the time we left the party, it had started to snow. He wrapped his scarf around my neck and said, "Baby, I can't let you catch a cold." He made me feel like I mattered. Now I realized, I was just the quietest girl in the room. The safest bet for a dare. And he never stopped calling me baby, because he probably didn't even remember my name that night. To present, I didn't eat dinner. Couldn't. My stomach felt like it was lined with shards of glass. The next morning, Jake came home like nothing happened. He brought a necklace with a delicate diamond in the center and said, "I saw this at the store and thought of you. It's perfect." He put it on me himself. Smoothed my hair down like he used to. Kissed my forehead. Smiled like he meant it. But all I could think was, this a guilt gift. The first necklace he gave me had cost nearly $200,000. I tried to refuse it. Too expensive, I told him, hands trembling. But he pressed it back around my neck and said, "You're worth it, Emma." That night as he showered, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the necklace in the mirror. I was tired. Tired of waiting to be chosen. Tired of being loyal, patient, quiet. Tired of sacrificing everything only to be the backup plan. Then his phone rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. He finally picked up on the 4th ring and walked out to take the call. I didn't follow. But I still heard the voice, light, laughing, familiar. "Lauren." When he came back, he kissed my cheek. "My parents want to send me on a work trip. Tokyo." I nodded. Then silence. But even in silence, memories echoed. I remembered the first time he stood up for me in high school. I was the weird girl. The one with acne, oversized hoodies, and parents who sold produce at the local farmer's market. Jake had been the golden boy even then. Varsity soccer captain, rich family, girls trailing after him like perfume. The boys loved to mock me. "Fish girl," they'd sneer. "Ugly duckling." "Eel stench." I started washing my clothes twice a day. Scrubbing my skin raw. Still didn't stop it. Then one day I heard Jake snap behind me. "If you're not gonna act like men, shut your mouths." I'd never seen anyone defend me before. Especially not someone like him. That one outburst made the bullying stop. From that day on, no one dared touch me. And somehow, without realizing it, I started watching him more. I never thought we'd speak again. Until years later when we ended up at the same university. He didn't even remember who I was at first. But something about the way I blended into the background must have made me useful again. I always wondered if he ever truly saw me. Or if I was just a reflection of someone else he missed. Lauren. She was the one he'd written love letters to during freshman year. I'd seen one once by accident, stuffed into a notebook he left on my desk. His handwriting was slanted and full of emotion. The kind of words he never gave me. He once told me he had no energy left for love letters. "Real love," he said, "doesn't need paper. It's in the everyday stuff." But I always knew he wrote those letters for her. Never for me. I used to dream of a life where I was enough for someone. Where I was chosen on purpose. Not out of convenience. Not out of guilt. Just chosen. Jake never gave me that. Even when my world was falling apart. My dad was diagnosed with cancer the year I turned 22. We had no money, no savings. Just a tiny home and a mountain of medical bills. My mom cried herself to sleep every night. I worked 4 part-time jobs. Studied when I could. Ate whatever was free in the break room. I remember that night like it was tattooed in my brain. It was raining. I was soaked, freezing. My shoes squelched with every step. Jake was at some pool hall with his friends. I tracked him down because we had no other option. I hated asking for help. But I had nothing left to sell except my pride. When I got there, one of his friends sneered at me. "Back for more, huh?" I didn't understand. "Come on," he said. "You know how this works. 1 meal, 1 grand. I stared at him, confused. "What?" He laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. "You want Jake's money? Earn it. 1 meal, 1 grand. Show us you're serious." I felt the world tilt beneath me. I looked down at my hands, raw from scrubbing dishes. My knees itched to give in, to fold, to surrender. But before I could move, Jake yanked me back by the elbow. His face was thunder. He shoved a black card into my palm, draped his coat around my shoulders and said, "If this isn't enough, call me." For a moment I thought, maybe he really loves me. Maybe he really sees me. Later that night after he showered, he found me on the couch, hunched over, crying into my sleeves. He rushed to me, panicked. Are you sick? What's wrong? I'll take you to the hospital right now. Don't cry, don't cry. I wanted to believe every word. I let myself believe it. I told myself love looked like this. Cold in public, warm in private. Silent in front of others, soft when no one was watching. But love isn't silent. Love doesn't hide you like a dirty secret. When he told me he was flying to Tokyo for work, I knew he was lying. Lauren had just posted a picture with him in New York. Her caption, showing off her diamond ring. With him. Finally. His wristwatch. Mine. A birthday gift I worked 3 jobs to afford. I remember curling up on the couch and laughing. Not out of humor. Out of disbelief. I was done. The next day I began clearing out my savings. I boxed up the memories, photos, letters, trinkets. I pulled out my favorite sweater, the one with the stitched heart he used to joke about, and folded it neatly. And I wrote a letter. I loved you. For so long I forgot what it felt like to love myself. But this isn't love anymore. It's loyalty born out of fear. Of shame. Of hope that maybe, just maybe, you'd remember me the way I remembered you. But you never did. So I'm returning everything. The debt. The necklaces. The titles. Don't worry. I won't cause a scene. You don't have to choose anymore. I've made the decision for you. Goodbye. I folded it neatly and left it on his nightstand. Then I walked out the door. And I never looked back. The snow had piled up overnight. As I walked out of Jake's apartment for the last time, the wind whipped against my cheeks like it wanted me to cry. I didn't. I went straight to the bank and transferred the final repayment. Every dollar Jake had ever lent me plus interest. It wasn't much by his standards. But to me it was everything. I emptied the joint savings account. Not out of malice. My name was on it. And I only took what was mine. I made no announcement. I didn't change my number. I just vanished. The day I met his mother, she arrived in a tailored beige coat, diamond studs glinting from her ears. How much do you want? She asked before the waiter even brought water. I stared at the card she slid across the table. If you walk away quietly, I'll make sure you're comfortable. I could have screamed. I could have caused a scene. Instead, I reached into my purse, pulled out a white envelope and slid it toward her. This is the money Jake lent me when my dad was sick. With interest. Please return it to him. And wish him a happy engagement. She blinked. Then for the first time I saw something close to regret in her eyes. But it was too late. Jake called me that night as if nothing had happened. Told me about work. Rambled about his annoying coworkers. Complained about his sore back. I asked, is it snowing in New York? He laughed. Yeah. Pretty hard. I smiled faintly. That's funny. I thought you were in Tokyo. The line went silent. I said, Jake, I don't love you anymore. Then I hung up. The messages came flooding in. Calls. Voice notes. Video chats. Don't do this. Just let me explain. Don't block me. Please. You said you'd never leave. I replied once. Let's end this peacefully. Then I blocked him. Not because I didn't love him. But because I loved myself more. And for the first time in 11 years that finally mattered. The morning after I blocked Jake, I woke up to 23 missed calls and 30 unread messages. I stared at the screen for a while, watching his desperation scroll by like a highlight reel of someone who only realized the value of something when it was already gone. Emma, please talk to me. What did I do wrong this time? I'll cancel the trip. I swear. Just tell me what you want. For once I didn't reply. Because I didn't want him to fix anything anymore. I just wanted to be done. But I underestimated how far Jake would go when he realized he couldn't control me anymore. That evening he was waiting outside my apartment with a massive bouquet of roses. He hadn't slept. His coat was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. He looked like a man unraveling. He shoved the roses into my arms the moment I opened the door. Emma, he said hoarsely, let's not do this. Come back. Before I could say a word, he pushed past me into the apartment like he still belonged there. I brought your favorite, he added, holding up a paper bag of soup from that overpriced vegan cafe I loved. I stared at him. You shouldn't be here. He set everything down on the table, ignoring me. You've never blocked me before. What the hell is going on? You said you'd never leave. I thought we were fine. No, Jake, I said softly. You thought I was fine staying invisible. He ran a hand through his hair. Okay, I screwed up. But you know how I get when I'm stressed. I didn't mean any of those things. He took a step toward me. I stepped back. I just needed a little space, he tried again. But I never meant to hurt you. I laughed. Came out sharp and ugly. You didn't need space, Jake. You needed someone to wait in the shadows while you chased someone else. His jaw tensed. I wasn't chasing anyone. Lauren and I, we're just friends now. Friends. I pointed to the diamond-studded bracelet on his wrist. The initials LW engraved into the clasp. Is that why you wear reminders of her like trophies? He yanked it off and threw it on the floor. Fine. You want me to get rid of it? Done. You don't get it, I whispered. You never did. And then he did something I didn't expect. He dropped to his knees. Hands trembling, eyes wide with panic. Emma, don't leave me. Please. You've been by my side for so long. I don't know who I am without you. My chest twisted. Because I had once dreamed of this. Him begging, choosing me, holding on instead of walking away. But now watching it unfold, it felt hollow. Too late. You didn't know who you were with me either, I said. You only knew who you wanted to be with when I wasn't around. He surged forward, pulled me into his arms and kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't sweet. It was desperate. Like he was trying to force the past back into the present. I pushed him away. Stop. He held my face. You still love me. I know you do. I loved you for 11 years, I said through clenched teeth. That was enough. His face collapsed. I don't love Lauren anymore. But you still left me for her, I whispered. And I still waited. That's on me. He looked like he wanted to argue, but instead he stood up and grabbed his coat. You're making a mistake. I made a lot of them, I said, walking to the door. But not this one. He stared at me for a long time. His eyes were full of something I had waited to see for years. Regret. But regret doesn't rewrite history. It doesn't undo choices. It doesn't heal bruises that no one ever apologized for. He left. This time I didn't watch him go. I didn't cry. I sat down on the couch, took a breath and pulled out my laptop. And I applied for a transfer. The overseas branch in Milan had been open for years. I'd been offered the position once, but Jake didn't want me going that far. We're building something here, he said. I need you close. Back then I stayed. This time I clicked submit without hesitation. A week later I was gone. Gone from the city where we met. Gone from the apartment that still smelled like his cologne. Gone from the cafes and streets and bookstores that held too many versions of me I didn't recognize anymore. I left the roses he gave me in the trash. I didn't leave a forwarding address. Jake texted me one last time before I boarded the flight. I'll wait for you. However long it takes. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I turned off my phone. He didn't get to wait. Not anymore. Milan felt like exhaling after holding my breath for 11 years. There was no Jake Morgan here. No Lauren Walsh. No suffocating parties where I was the afterthought. No one who remembered me as that girl who owed someone money, or Jake's placeholder. Here I was, just Emma Collins. A mid-level marketing analyst with a passport and 2 suitcases, finally allowed to start over. I rented a tiny apartment above a bakery in Navigli. The scent of fresh focaccia woke me every morning before my alarm did. I learned how to take my espresso standing at the counter like the locals, stopped checking my phone every 10 minutes, and wore red lipstick for the first time in years. For a while it was enough just to breathe. To exist without waiting for someone to notice I was hurting. My work days were long. The Italian branch had been struggling for years, and I was tasked with rebuilding their brand presence from scratch. I poured myself into it. Late nights, cold pizza, empty notebooks filled with strategy plans and ad copy. I didn't miss Jake. Not in the romantic way. But I missed the rhythm of our life. The illusion of stability. The sense that I had someone even if he wasn't really mine. Some nights, I'd stand on my balcony with a glass of wine and wonder if I had imagined the good parts. The scarf he wrapped around my neck in winter. The way he used to hum when washing dishes. How he'd pull me close in the middle of the night and whisper, "You're the only one who gets me." But memory lies. It polishes what should be left tarnished. 3 months into my new life something changed. His name was Ethan Blake. He was the lead strategist for a consulting firm we'd hired to help rebrand the company. I didn't notice him at first, too focused, too detached, but he noticed me. "Emma Collins," he said one afternoon, flipping through my campaign notes. "You've got a very clean style. Precise. Like someone who's had to learn how to control chaos." I raised an eyebrow. "That's oddly specific." He smiled. "Not a flirtatious one, just curious. I read people. Comes with the job." I shrugged. "Maybe I'm just boring." Nothing boring about someone who survived emotional warfare and still makes things beautiful. Caught me off guard. That word, survived. He didn't mean it in a dramatic way. He said it like a quiet truth. Like he'd been there too. After that, he'd find excuses to stop by my desk. Not the obvious kind. He was smooth. Subtle. "This font work is clean but a little cold. Kind of like you." Is that an insult? Not at all. You strike me as someone who used to feel everything until someone taught you it was safer not to. I didn't know whether to thank him or tell him to back off. But I didn't stop him from talking to me. At first, we only saw each other in meetings. Then coffee breaks. Eventually, we started walking to the tram station together. I learned he had a niece he adored. That he'd almost been married once, but called it off when he realized she loved the idea of him, not the reality. He never asked about Jake. But one evening, as we sat on a rooftop bar overlooking the Duomo, he said, "You still wear armor like you're expecting someone to stab you." I looked away. Because someone always does. And yet here you are. Still standing. I didn't say anything. But something shifted. One night I got a call from Tyler, Jake's friend. I had forgotten he even had my number. I let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. "Okay. I know you're probably never going to respond and maybe you shouldn't. But Jake's not doing well. He's drinking a lot. He got into a fight at the pool hall last week. He's spiraling. I think he really thought you'd come back." I deleted the message. Not because I didn't care. But because I couldn't afford to. I wasn't his crutch anymore. That night I told Ethan about it. Just enough. Not the full story. Not yet. "I gave him everything I had," I said, staring at the rim of my glass. "And when I walked away I felt like I was robbing him. But no. I think I was just finally giving myself back what I never should have handed over." Ethan didn't ask for details. He didn't press. He just said, "Some people only learn to value you when you stop letting them borrow your light." I stared at him, stunned. He looked me in the eye. "You don't owe him your ruin." No one had ever said something like that to me before. I think I started falling for him in that moment. Not because he was kind or handsome or clever. But because he didn't ask me to explain my pain. He simply refused to let it define me. By the end of that month I had my first real promotion in years. Senior strategy lead. Ethan took me out to celebrate. Nothing fancy, just wine, pizza, and conversation that made me laugh until my cheeks hurt. When he walked me to my apartment and kissed my hand goodnight, I didn't feel nervous. I felt seen. Not possessed. Not claimed. Not worn down into obedience. Just seen. And for the first time in years I let someone look. By the time spring painted Milan in warm yellows and pinks, I had a new routine. Morning espresso. Morning meetings. Texts from Ethan that never asked where I was, only how I was. He never made me feel owned. He made me feel respected. He sent me flowers once. Wild, untamed things like he'd scooped them straight from a mountainside, and added a note in messy penmanship. "You don't need to bloom for anyone. But if you do, I hope you do it for yourself." It's strange how the heart recognizes sincerity like muscle memory. I didn't trust easily anymore. I didn't fall in love with grand gestures or confessions made under stars. I watched how people acted when no one was watching. I listened for how they spoke about others, not just to them. And Ethan didn't just show up for me. He never left in the first place. But life has a cruel way of testing your peace. Jake found me. I don't know how. Maybe Tyler told him. Maybe he traced a LinkedIn update or found an old boarding pass tucked away somewhere. All I know is this. I opened my door one evening and there he was. Jake Morgan. Same brown hair. Same ridiculous charm tucked behind sunken eyes. But older now. Not in age, just in weight. His shoulders slumped like he'd been carrying too many regrets and not enough apologies. I didn't speak. He held out a bouquet, roses again. Always roses. He never paid attention to the fact I hated them. "Emma," he said, voice cracking like it hadn't been used in weeks. You look. I waited. Different. I didn't smile. I am. He stepped inside without asking like he used to. I let him, for closure not for comfort. He looked around the small apartment. The bookshelf. The Italian cookbooks. The wine glasses that didn't match. You live here? He asked like it offended him. Yes. He sat down like his legs couldn't carry the weight of everything he wanted to say. I've been going crazy trying to find you. I know. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I thought you'd come back. I tilted my head. Why? He blinked. Because you always did. And there was the answer wrapped in entitlement. You always waited, he said. I thought you just needed time. No, Jake. I sat down across from him, my voice calm. What I needed was to stop waiting. He leaned forward, desperation sharpening his words. Emma, I ended things with Lauren. I broke it off. There's no one else now. Just you. It's always been you. I stared at him. It's funny. You had 8 years to choose me. You waited until I chose myself. He swallowed hard. I was stupid. You were cruel. He stood and walked toward me, dropping to his knees like he had in my apartment months ago. I'm begging you, he whispered. Please come home. I leaned forward too, just slightly. Enough for him to think I was about to say something tender. Then I said, I don't live there anymore. He flinched. I know I messed up, he choked. But we had good memories, right? I loved you, Emma. I still do. I looked him straight in the eye. No, Jake. You loved how I loved you. That's not the same thing. Silence. Outside, someone was playing music on the street. An upbeat tune full of accordion and brass. Something hopeful. He stood up, suddenly frantic. I flew across the world to find you. And I walked away with nothing once, I said. Now I have peace. I'm not giving that up. His jaw trembled. So that's it. That's it. He stepped back, looked around again like he still couldn't understand how I had moved on. Is there someone else? I thought of Ethan. Of quiet mornings. Of red wine and yellow flowers. Of a man who didn't treat me like an obligation. Yes, I said simply. And even if there weren't, I still wouldn't come back. His face shattered. But I didn't flinch this time. Because heartbreak doesn't kill you. Staying somewhere you're unloved, that's what does. Jake left without another word. And I didn't watch him go. Later that night I told Ethan everything. We sat on my balcony, the city glowing beneath us like an open journal. I don't need fixing, I said. I'm not asking for healing. I just want to be allowed to exist without someone rewriting me. Ethan set his glass down. I don't want to rewrite you, Emma. I looked at him. He said, I just want to read every chapter. And just like that, something opened in my chest. Not the part that begged to be loved. But the part that had finally learned to love herself. 2 weeks passed after Jake showed up. He didn't call again. He didn't show up again. But he didn't need to, because now the past came to me. One Monday morning I walked into the office and noticed a shift. The whispers. The glances. The sudden, sharp silence when I passed the break room. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. I'd worked long enough to recognize that kind of tension. Later that afternoon, my assistant hesitated before handing me a tablet. You might want to see this. A headline blared across the screen. CO Air Jake Morgan's breakdown goes viral after collapsing outside Milan hotel. Mumbling woman's name repeatedly. And underneath it, blurry footage of Jake. Unshaven, stumbling drunk, barely coherent. Murmuring my name over and over again as someone tried to help him into a car. Emma. 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 It felt surreal. Like watching a version of my past dissolve in real time. He was once so powerful. So composed. He used to command every room. Now he was being wheeled out like a casualty. The article painted him like a tragic lover. The broken man whose fiancée left him. The one who never recovered. No one cared why I left. Just that I had. My inbox exploded within the hour. Tyler sent me a voice note. I didn't know the press would pick it up. He's not doing well. He's been drinking every night. His dad's threatening to pull him from the board. I stared out the window. Milan was bright and loud below me, full of life and noise. The world kept turning. I wasn't cold. I wasn't heartless. But I wasn't his rehab center either. I forwarded the article to Ethan with a short message. In case it gets weird. I'm fine. His reply came fast. Meet me for dinner. No headlines. Just you and me. Ethan was waiting outside the restaurant when I arrived, hands in his pockets, his smile easy but steady. Rough day? He asked as he held the door open. You saw it, didn't you? He nodded. But I was mostly looking at your name. I exhaled. It's like I finally left the fire, but everyone keeps asking why I didn't burn slower. Ethan's gaze was steady. You don't owe anyone a graceful exit from a burning building. Dinner was quiet. Calm. Exactly what I needed. Afterward we walked along the canal. There was music in the air, someone strumming an old guitar a little out of tune but still lovely. I keep waiting for the guilt to hit harder, I admitted. But it doesn't. Just sadness. Because it's grief, Ethan said. But not for him. For the version of you that thought staying was the only way to be loved. I stopped walking. Turned to him. You say things like that and I start wondering how you're still single. He grinned. You think I'm single? I blinked. Aren't you? Not really, he said, stepping closer. I've been very taken with this girl I met. She's sharp and stubborn and sometimes heartbreakingly soft, even though she tries not to be. I laughed, cheeks warming. Sounds intense. She is. His voice dropped. But I've never met anyone braver. I didn't kiss him. Not yet. But I wanted to. The next day the headlines died down. Jake's family released a statement. He's resting. The company remains stable. But I knew better. I knew the look in his eyes when he was spiraling. The way his hands shook when he was trying not to fall apart. A part of me still mourned him. The boy I once met at a party. The man I begged to love me back. The one who used to hold my hand like it anchored him. But that love had run dry. And when the foundation cracks that deep, you don't rebuild. You relocate. A week later I was called into a boardroom I'd never been in before. Our parent company's director sat across from me. Miss Collins, he said, tapping a file. Your campaign brought in over 20 million in new revenue last quarter. I nodded, unsure where this was going. He slid an envelope toward me. You're being promoted. Chief Marketing Officer. Full relocation package, salary bump, full independence. And we want you to lead the expansion. I blinked. Are you serious? He smiled. You've earned it. Later that night, as I packed a bottle of wine and 2 mismatched glasses into a bag, I knocked on Ethan's door. He opened it in a hoodie, glasses low on his nose, hair tousled. You look like you weren't expecting company. I wasn't, he said, then grinned. But if it's you, I'll pretend I was. I stepped in, held up the wine. I got promoted. His eyes widened. Emma, that's amazing. He didn't ask about Jake. Didn't even mention it. He just poured the wine, clinked glasses, and toasted with the softest smile. To the woman who no longer asks to be seen. And under the soft lamp glow of his apartment, with my feet tucked under me and the weight of years falling from my shoulders, I finally said it. I think I'm ready. He didn't ask for what. He just kissed me. Like he knew exactly what I meant. The promotion came with a gala. A fundraising dinner hosted by our parent company to celebrate the expansion. CEOs, investors, media, everyone who mattered in our orbit would be there. And I, for once, wasn't attending in the background. I was on the list of speakers. My name, Emma Collins, was printed on the program beside words like strategist, architect of global success, and keynote address. No longer Jake Morgan's girlfriend. No longer an apology walking in heels. That night I wore a deep emerald gown. Nothing flashy, just sleek, clean, confident. My hair was pinned back and my heels were tall enough that I could meet anyone's eyes without flinching. Ethan was waiting for me at the bottom of the staircase. He looked me up and down and smiled. You're going to level the whole room. I'm not here to burn it down, I said, slipping my hand into his. You don't have to. You are the fire. I smiled. We walked in together. And the moment we did, I saw him. Jake. Standing near the back wall, drink in hand, staring at me like he didn't know whether to call out or collapse. Of course he would come. The press had eaten up the redemption story. He was clean now, supposedly. Fresh out of a recovery center in Zurich. The Morgan family had rehired their PR firm. They needed a show of control. And what better way than for Jake to appear at my event? The first part of me, the one that used to fold at the sight of him, shivered. The other part, the one Ethan had helped me grow into, stood taller. I didn't go to him. Let him come. He did. Of course he did. Right after my speech, which ended with a standing ovation. Jake cornered me by the bar, looking like a ghost in a tailored suit. Emma. I turned slowly. Jake. He stared at me. You look different. You've said that before. He swallowed. I'm getting better. I hope you are. I'm not here to cause a scene, he said quickly. I needed to see you. One last time. I didn't know how to move on. I nodded. And you thought seeing me would fix that? He flinched. I thought maybe we could talk. And then I felt it. The warm, quiet presence beside me. Ethan. He slid into place without a word, hand lightly brushing my lower back. Not possessive. Just steady. Jake's eyes flicked to him, then back to me. So it's serious. I didn't answer. Ethan did. She doesn't owe you an answer. Jake's mouth tightened. This isn't your business. It becomes my business the second your presence makes her uncomfortable, Ethan said, calm and unwavering. And she doesn't look like she wants to be here. Do you, Emma? I looked at Jake. No. I don't. Jake's mask slipped for just a second. He stepped back as if the reality finally struck him. You really let me go. I let you go, I said softly, the day I stopped needing your permission to exist. He stared at me, broken, quiet, still handsome but hollow in all the ways that mattered. I still think about you, he said. And I still think about the girl who waited for you every night, wondering if she mattered, I replied. I think about her all the time. And I fight for her now. His voice cracked. So that's it. That's the beautiful thing, Jake, I said. This time I get to say when it ends. Ethan stepped between us gently. You should leave, he told Jake. And not for her. For yourself. Stop trying to chase someone who already outran the version of you that hurt her. Jake looked like he wanted to fight it, say something cutting or bitter. But all he did was nod. And walk away. No scene. No drama. Just silence. The kind that follows the final page of a long, painful book. Later that night, Ethan and I stood on the hotel balcony. The city lights glimmered beneath us like stars flipped upside down. You okay? He asked. I nodded. It's strange. I always thought the end would come with fireworks. Tears. Closure. He looked at me. Did it? No, I smiled. It came with stillness. That's better. He tucked a curl behind my ear. You didn't just survive him, Emma. You outgrew him. I leaned my head against his chest. And you? I'm not here to fix your past, he whispered. I'm here to build your future. If you'll let me. I think I already have. I didn't expect to hear from her. But 3 days after the gala, my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't saved, but recognized instantly. Vivian Morgan. Jake's mother. The woman who once sat across from me at a cafe in Manhattan, pushed a bank card toward me like I was a pest to be bought off and said, You two are from different worlds. I almost let the call go to voicemail. Almost. But some part of me, a more healed version maybe, picked it up. Emma speaking. There was a pause on the other end. Then her familiar, perfectly modulated voice. Hello, Emma. It's Vivian. I hope this isn't unwelcome. It depends what you're calling for, I said calmly, walking to my window and pulling back the sheer curtain. Milan was golden with sunset. I saw you at the gala, she said. You were impressive. Very composed. I always was, I replied. Another pause. Then a deep sigh. I owe you an apology. My breath caught not from emotion, just from sheer disbelief. She continued, Back then I thought I was protecting my son. I saw you as a threat. Someone who could distract him, destabilize him. I thought I knew what love should look like. I thought it came in a package. Pedigree, family name, legacy. And now, she said quietly, I see that you were the one who held him together when we didn't even notice he was falling apart. I didn't say anything. I was wrong, she added. About you. About all of it. I didn't need an apology, I told her. I just needed to be free. I know. But I wanted to give one anyway. There was silence. Not awkward, just final. Before she hung up, she said, I'm glad you left. that stayed with me long after the call ended. That evening, Ethan came over with groceries and that same easy smile I was still getting used to. "Did you know the pasta aisle here is chaos?" he asked, placing bags on my counter. "There's an entire section for gnocchi." I panicked and grabbed all of it. I laughed, tossing him a towel. "You can't cook 5 kinds of gnocchi in one night." "We can try." As we chopped and stirred and moved around each other like we'd always done it, I told him about the phone call. "She apologized," I said. And for once I didn't feel the urge to say, "It's okay." He looked up from where he was grating cheese. "Because it wasn't." "No, it wasn't. But I'm not carrying it anymore." Ethan nodded and crossed the space between us, resting his hands lightly on my waist. "You know what I see when I look at you?" "What?" "Not someone who survived him. Someone who refused to be ruined by him." I didn't kiss him. I held him. Sometimes that felt more sacred. Over the next few weeks, things moved fast. Ethan was offered a long-term strategic consulting contract with the Milan office. He didn't hesitate. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "Unless you are." I smiled. "This time I'm choosing to stay." Our relationship was simple and soft. Everything my last one had never been. He didn't storm. He didn't shout. He didn't disappear when things got difficult. If I got quiet, he leaned in. If I panicked, he stayed steady. There were no love bombs. No dramatic promises. Just consistent, ordinary love. And maybe that was the most extraordinary thing of all. One Sunday morning we visited the flower market. He kept picking up little things. A crooked vase, a tiny cactus, a notebook with a stitched leather cover. "What are you doing?" I asked, amused. He smiled. "You've built a life. I want to make tiny additions to it. That okay?" My chest tightened, not in fear but in warmth. "Yes," I said. "That's more than okay." That night he brought it up. We were curled on the couch, my head on his chest, his fingers tracing light circles on my back. "Have you ever thought about forever?" he asked softly. "With you. With anyone. But yeah, I'm selfish." I meant me. I didn't answer right away. Because the old version of me, the one that gave Jake 8 years and still wasn't sure, would have panicked. But this version? She wasn't scared of forever. Only of wasting another second on someone who couldn't hold it with her. So I looked up. "I've thought about it," I said. "And I think if it's with you, I won't have to keep asking if I'm enough." "You'll never have to ask again," he said. And I believed him. It started with an email. No subject line. No greeting. Just one sentence. "Can we talk? Please." I stared at it for a full minute before closing the tab. That would have been the end of it, should have been, if he hadn't shown up at the office. Yes, my office. I was walking out of a quarterly review meeting, files clutched to my chest, when I saw him leaning against the marble reception desk like it was still 2016 and he still had the right to wait for me. My stomach didn't flip. My hands didn't shake. They used to. Now all I felt was quiet resolve. I walked up slowly. "Jake," I said. His head snapped up. "Emma." His voice was breathless, like he'd been rehearsing this moment for months. "You look. If you say different again, I swear I'll have security walk you out." He flinched. I just wanted to talk. 5 minutes. I hesitated. Not because I owed him anything but because I wanted to finish this properly. Cleanly. So I nodded. "Fine. 5 minutes. But not here." We walked to the glass-walled rooftop lounge 2 floors up. It was early enough that no one was there, the city humming quietly beneath us. I crossed my arms. "Talk." Jake sat, his movements jittery. "I've been in therapy. Real therapy. And rehab. I've stopped drinking. I'm volunteering now. Trying to do better." "I'm glad," I said. And I meant it. But I didn't move an inch closer. He blinked. "I think about you every day." "That's a shame," I said, tone neutral. "Because I stopped thinking about you a long time ago." He swallowed hard. "I miss you. You miss the way I loved you," I replied. "You miss being the center of someone's world without earning it." He looked away. "I know I was a mess. You were cruel." He nodded slowly. "I didn't come here to beg." "You never have to beg," I said. "But that doesn't mean I'm coming back." Jake finally looked at me, then really looked. At the woman who wasn't standing by the door with her heart in her hands. At the woman who had made peace with being forgotten. Do you love him? He asked. I didn't even have to ask who. Yes. His lips pressed into a thin line. What does he have that I didn't? A backbone, I said. And the ability to love someone without needing to destroy them first. Silence. He ran a hand through his hair, looking years older. I bought you something, he said, pulling a small red velvet box from his pocket. My heart didn't jump. He opened it. A diamond. Flawless. I want to marry you, he said. I stared at it. Then at him. Jake, I said softly. You're not proposing to me. You're proposing to the ghost of the girl who used to beg for this. He looked like he wanted to scream. Or cry. Maybe both. I waited too long, he murmured. No, I said. You never started. That's the real problem. He looked up at me, eyes wide. You really don't love me anymore? I shook my head. I don't even recognize the version of me who did. Jake nodded like he finally understood. Really understood. I'm sorry, he said. And this time I believed it. I forgive you, I replied. But I'm not coming back. He didn't argue. He stood up, pocketed the ring, and walked away. And just like that it was over. Later that night, Ethan and I curled up on the couch, our usual spot, his hand resting gently on my knee. I saw Jake today, I said. Ethan didn't flinch. He didn't stiffen. He just said, do I need to worry? I looked at him. At this man who had never tried to possess me, only walk beside me. No, I said, smiling. Not even a little. Good, he said, lacing our fingers together. Because I'm getting real attached to this version of you. What version is that? The one that looks at herself like she's finally enough. I leaned my head against him, heart full. He proposed. Ethan blinked. Did he? I nodded. I said no. Ethan smiled. Of course you did. I turned to him. Do you ever get scared that one day I'll disappear? He shook his head. You don't disappear, Emma. You rise. The morning of my wedding I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't emotional, but because I had nothing left to mourn. This wasn't a bandage over heartbreak. It wasn't a rebound or a way to prove I'd healed. This was love, the kind that doesn't ask you to bleed just to prove it's real. Ethan and I kept it simple. A private ceremony in Lake Como, just our closest people, soft white chairs by the water, and a string quartet that played songs neither of us could name but both found beautiful. My dress wasn't expensive, but it was mine. Clean lines, soft satin, a long train that I hadn't intended to love but did. My mother helped me fasten the clasp on the back. Her hands shook. You're calm, she whispered. I smiled at our reflection in the mirror. Because I'm sure. That stunned her. I don't think she ever heard me say those words before. I walked down the aisle holding her hand. She didn't let go until the moment came for Ethan to take it. He did gently. Like it mattered. His eyes never left mine, not even once. I never imagined this, I whispered. I did, he said. From the moment you made fun of my tie in that pitch meeting. Everyone laughed. Not because it was loud or funny, but because it was us. There were no vows about saving each other. Only promises to stay, even when nothing needed saving. After the ceremony, as we stepped aside to take photos, I noticed a familiar figure in the distance. Alone. Watching from behind the olive trees that bordered the venue. Jake. I didn't flinch. I didn't hide. He stood still. Hands in pockets. Dressed neatly for once. Our eyes met across the grass. He didn't move. He just nodded. Not in approval. Not in regret. In acceptance. And I finally nodded back. That was all it needed to be. A silent acknowledgement that some loves don't last. And some loves never began the way we thought they did. Later, Ethan pulled me close during the slow dance, his hands warm on my back, his mouth brushing my ear. What are you thinking about? I looked around, the lights strung between olive trees, the way my mother was laughing with his sister, the sound of water gently lapping behind us. I looked up at him. My husband. Nothing, I said. Absolutely nothing. For once, I'm not trying to escape anything. I'm just here. He grinned. Welcome to the rest of your life. I leaned into him. And I didn't look back. Not at the broken boy who once told me I was obedient. Not at the girl who once clung to him like love would redeem her. Not at the 8 years I wasted waiting to be chosen. Because now I had chosen myself. And someone else had chosen me not because he could, but because he couldn't imagine not doing so. The book. A year later, I stood outside the Milan office, now as chief executive officer. There were new faces, new challenges, a baby on the way, a future still unwritten. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was running toward something or away from it. I was standing still, rooted, blooming. And when Ethan arrived holding my favorite espresso and a paper bag with a croissant, I didn't even have to say a word. He handed me the coffee, kissed the top of my head and whispered, "Still sure?" I smiled. Always. The end.